Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbey is a convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you very much, Alfred.
And this is yet another evidence of the impact of Galamsey, not just on forest cover, but on our water bodies. Ghana Water is mulling the idea again of a shutdown of a treatment plant unless something is done, all because Galamsey has led to increased levels of NTU in this water that serves over 13 districts in the central region. Engineer.
Alfred, you see, we should bear in mind that the turbidity of water somewhere in the central region was 14,000 NTUs last year. That is what caused all that uproar that, culminated in the Catholic Church going out on the streets, caused a lot of us, showing our revulsion that resulted in His Excellency the President and other presidential candidates signing a pact with us. And so when we have situations like this happening, and I hear the CEO talking about 11,000 NTUs and talking about the treatment plant whose stability design is 2,500. The WHO sets the turbidity level for water to be treated at 5 NTUs. And so when you have the situation where you get to 32,000 NTUs, these equipment are supposed to be treating water, not to be treating sludge. And so we've gotten to the point as a people where they are no more using, alum to do the coagulation. We're now using this amalgam, aluminum amalgam that is used in treating wastewater. That is what is being used to treat water for us. And all of this is happening. And as a country, we don't seem to care enough the damage that we are doing to ourselves. You would hear people talking about other things rather than this critical thing, And so I was still waiting for what the Minister for Foreign Affairs said, that His Excellency the President was going to come back to us with some other actions, that would show our revulsion for what is happening. But where we are going to, the Kwenyaku water treatment plant is not somewhere in the middle of the the Ashanti, the Western North, where the level of degradation was that bad. But now if we're beginning to see it in Kwenyaku, it's now what we're saying is that every water treatment plant is going, And so what is it that we're doing to ourselves as a people? And so His Excellency the President, you are the number one man that can deal with this problem for us. And it's important that we realize the fact that the state we are in, when you have anybody attacking your water body of your citizenry, that is war that they have declared on us. When 9/11 happened, America did not say that in 9/11, what happened internally, so let's only use the FBI to wage that particular war. They realized the fact that the war has been brought internally to them, and they responded to it. We need to realize that this thing we are dealing with is organized crime. It is something that is eating deep into the soul of our people. And I am hoping that the security briefings that will be given to His Excellency the President, he will see this thing in it. 14,000 NTUs last year were what poured all of us onto the street. Now we are doing 32,000 NTUs at a water treatment plant again. So it is important that we change the way in which we're dealing with this existential threat that confronts all of us as a people.
And this is coming from the Managing Director of the Ghana Water Company Limited. It's coming face to face with this threat that we're talking about and the pollution of these water bodies. And as a result, he says that's led to an increase in the treatment of water. Because now, as you indicated, alum cannot purify the 13,000 NTUs we're talking about. So they have to incur more
Alfred,
costs.
please. Alfred, don't stop talking about purification. Stop talking about purification. All that alum does is coagulation. You see, as you see it being very turbid like that, they also, when they are doing their washing, they wash with all the chemicals and everything back into the river. Last year, we wrote to the Ghana Water Company, and so this MD, if he goes to look into his records, you see it. We've written asking them to confirm for us the level of heavy metals that is in that Kwenyako water, whether it is up to the standards that is drinkable. Let's not forget that there are some scientists in KNUST that have done some work that shows us that Ghana water is not able to take out the heavy metals from the water that they treat. So they are not even purifying it. All they're doing is trying to clean it up. And even that they cannot use they're using what they use in treating wastewater. And so that's the level at which we need to be complaining. Yesterday, I was at the hospital. And there was a doctor who was telling me about having gone to Akwetia and some of the disease patterns they were seeing in Akwetia area. Most of these are different from what they see in Accra. But the malarias and the hypertensions that they see in Accra is not what they see in these places. I was in the Sefi area. On one time, there's a doctor in that place also said the mpox that had come, the places that they were getting it in the Western North was all in the Galamsey related areas. So it is important that we realize that beyond the things that we see, the impact on this on our lives is so terrible. And for me, one of the people who also have been quiet for too long is the Ghana, the health team. From the medical association to the nurses to the lab people, they need to start telling us what it is that they are seeing and the impact on this. So we call upon Ghana Water, we call upon Standard Authority, we call upon the FDA, Food and Drugs Board, the water that is being produced for all of us, that you are feeding to us. Is this at the level of, is it healthy for us to be drinking? And we need to also call on our medical people, Ministry of Health. What are you seeing in the areas where Galamsey is endemic? Now it's even come to Kwenyako. So you're sitting somewhere in Winneba, you're sitting in Swedro, and you think that you don't have Galamsey confronting you. But look at the level of, turbidity and, in the water that is being processed for you.
This water, the source of this water we are seeing polluted like this in Kwenyako, actually is from the Ayensu River, which flows all the way into Kwenyako. So the activity in itself, that's why when you listen to the managing director of the Ghana Water, he says they have to trace the source of the Galamsey because it's not happening in Kwenyako. It's been polluted right from very far away distance, but then again, the result is being felt downhill.
Exactly. And you see, and so that's why we need to, all be mindful about these challenges that confront us. That's these things that we're doing to ourselves, it has, a systemic challenge on ourselves as a country. We are killing, this Ayensu area. Last year, there was one lady who I go to church with. She comes from that neighborhood. And she tells me that the village she comes from, that's their source of water. And when she went there, she saw this level of turbidity as well. And because of that, even in those areas, the disease patterns that they are beginning to see there. But I did not think that, it will get close to the Kwenyako waterworks the way it's gotten to. And so, the Ayenso itself is gone as well, And so it's important that, our leaders, as leaders, we need to rise up to the situation that we actually are pretending over a situation of self-poisoning, and nobody does this to themselves. That people stand together and decide that they will poison their own water. Nobody does that. And not only is the surface water getting contaminated, even our groundwater also is being impacted. And so for us, all of us as citizens as well, we also are going to be culpable when we sit and we see these things and we don't respond to them. And so, Alfred, I am grateful to you and to the other media people, but I think that we need to start changing what it is that we do. As a coalition, we're planning to hold another press conference, but we now need to start changing the way we do this. And it's important that His Excellency the President realizes that we're in September now, 9 months after he's come into office. He signed a pact with us. And so that requires some action that has to be taken. This activity has led to 8 Ghanaians having lost their lives in the bid to go and, try and get responsible mining to happen, and So it ought to matter. We should not allow these 8 people to have died, and it's as if we've gone back, and it's business as usual. We're looking at roads and all of that. We need to face this particular existential threat that faces all of us. And I would plead with His Excellency that he needs to be dealing with this. We've seen the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources acting as Minister for Environment take a particular action. That is refreshing. But the other things that ought to be done, we're not seeing that being done. And so it is important that we change our modus operandi and find a way of resolving this thing. This thing, and the CEO of the Ghana Water has told you, the cause of this is nothing but this environmental crime that is being perpetrated by environmental criminals. We should stop calling it galamsey. That is what it is. Look at what it is that is happening. And you see, Alfred, what is happening is that gradually around the world, there are places where this organized crime is taking hold. So you go into places like Brazil, you go into Ecuador, you go into Peru. In South America, the center of this organized crime is somewhere in Miami. In Ghana, it's also beginning to take hold. And if we don't deal with it, they will take over like the way now they don't do narco again. It's not narcotics in those places. Mm-hmm. They're also doing illegal mining, especially gold. And as the price of gold hits 3,500, this thing becomes more attractive. And so we need to deal with it. And that's why it's important. I call upon the president and I call upon, Council of State. We call upon the parliamentarians. We call upon the religious leaders, the traditional leaders. Our very existence as a people is at risk. And we need to wake up to it and find a solution to this particular problem that stares us in the face. And we all are complicit by keeping quiet. And those who have to act and are not acting, the blood of Ghanaians are on their heads. The blood of the 8 that died, if we don't take any action, all of us, it will be on our heads.
Engineer Dr. Ashigbey, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And he is